Deuteronomy 28:56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set her soul or set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, toward her son, and toward her daughter. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect, and much respect to the brothers pushing his word in the four winds of the earth. And shalom to you few sincere sisters out there as well. This is Brother Ariel coming at you with another lesson. Okay, and this is a cautionary tale. This is why the apostles tell us, don't be going out there looking for no women. And especially don't deal with no black women, man, because them women are super angry, man. Super disrespectful, and they act like men. And as in the video, you can see my man's was having a hard time kicking her out the apartment. The struggle was real, as you've seen. And, that woman she had demons on her, man, because he shouldn't have had as much trouble as he did with her. He could have potentially lost his life right there, man, dealing with, that angry-ass woman. This is why it's best, if you are going to deal with a woman to have a feminine woman and not a masculine one. Because a masculine woman will always disrespect you, will never have respect for you because she's trying to be what you are, okay? Which is a man. And a masculine woman will always, test you. As far, I'm speaking physically, will test you because in her mind, she thinks that she's equal to you. And she thinks that she can beat your ass, This is why it's best to just deal with a feminine woman, man. Shit, I've had a couple of knives pulled out on me as well, man. And that's a red flag at the end of the day, because that shows you that woman will definitely take your life, man. Let's get Mark 5 and 9. Because, she definitely had them spirits on her, man. Mark 5, and I'll read, matter of fact, I'll read 1 through 9. And it says, and they came over unto the other side of the sea, into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. And this is what this woman had on her. She had an unclean spirit on her, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, showing how strong he was, because no man could bind him with chains. All right, showing you that these spirits will give people superhuman strength, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken into pieces. Neither could any man tame him. And always night and day he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. That's another indication that someone has heavy spirits on them, or heavy wicked spirits on them. They're, giving themselves lacerations, cutting themselves, right? But when he saw Yahushua afar off, he ran and worshipped him, and cried with a loud voice and said, "What have I do? What have I to do with thee, Yahushua, thou Son of the Most High Power? I adjure thee by the Heavenly Father, that thou torment me not." For he said unto him, "Come out of that man, thou unclean spirit." And he asked him, "What is thy name?" And he answered, saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many." Okay, and that woman had that legion spirit on her, man. Okay, she was probably seeing red. And the Lord made it to where that man got out of that situation. But there are many that don't find themselves getting out of a situation like that. I had a cousin, that grew up in New York, born and raised just like I was, and he moved down to Georgia, and he met a woman down there, whatever, and they was living together, and they would always be arguing, going back and forth, and he was never the argumentative type, man. He was always cool, laid back, always just chilling, just like Jake does, and she was trying to get some money from him, and he wasn't giving it to her, so she stabbed him in the neck, man, and left him there. He tried to go outside to get some help, and ultimately, he passed out and died, man, from the loss of blood. She's currently doing life in jail now. But yeah, this is why, you gotta be careful about who you let into your life, man. Okay, because the person that you let into your life can very well be the one that takes your life. You know, and yeah. Anyway, let me get back to the lesson, Salakia. But yeah, this happens very often, man. In Ecclesiasticus, the 42nd chapter, and I read 12 and 13. No, I mean the 42nd chapter. That's what I want. And I'll read 12 and 13. It says, "Behold not everybody's beauty, and sit not in the midst of women. For from garments come a moth, and from women wickedness." Okay? And there's a lot of men out here that get caught up in how women look. Okay? But that nowadays is not a thing of importance. Okay? Is that woman going to give you peace? All right? Is that woman going to have your back? Is that woman going to respect you? Is that woman going to, follow your lead? Right? Those things are important, man. Because at the end of the day, looks fade, man. We all grow older. Looks fade, man. All right? But a lot of men get trapped into how a woman looks instead of looking, into the inner woman. Because a lot of these women that are pretty, or so-called pretty, are very wicked on the inside, man. Okay? Straight up demons on the inside. You can look at the news and see how many of these women, kill their men. Like I said earlier, I had knives pulled out on me, not for hitting a woman, but for just letting a woman know about herself. You could simply tell a woman about herself, okay, and make certain statements that cut her to her soul, okay, or have her overreact and try to do something to you, man. This is how these women get down. A lot of these women, I'm not going to say all, of course, but a majority of these women get down like that. They definitely move off of emotion, okay? And there'll be things that'll be said to them that'll set them off, and they'll try to take your life, man. It's happened to me more than a couple of times, because I don't hold no punches when I'm telling someone about themselves, man. And I definitely don't hold punches when I'm telling me about myself. So I'm not gonna hold punches when I'm telling someone else about they self, man. But a lot of people can't take it. Now I don't know what happened in that situation, but you know, just like my man said in Baby Boy, man, a lot of these women are unstable creatures, and they're very unstable. All right, and those are two videos showing you that these women out here, not all of them, but most of them are crash outs, and they're very unstable. This woman walked up to her house, busted a shot, and she couldn't shoot no more. The gun got jammed. I don't know how. That was a revolver. I don't know how the hell that happened, but it got jammed. Okay, and she ended up going up to the window and smashing it with the gun and walking off smooth like she ain't do nothing. You know, that's evil spirit activity right there. Okay, um, let's get Ecclesiasticus the 25th chapter, 25 and 13 and 14, right? And I'll read through 15. Um, Matter of fact, 16. All right. Um, and it says, "Give me any plague but the plague of the heart, which is the mind, and any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman, and any affliction but the affliction from them that hate me, and any revenge but the revenge of my enemies." Okay? And there is no head above the head of a serpent, and there is no wrath above the wrath of an enemy. Okay? And a lot of these women that brothers is laying with, me, myself included, we could be laying right next to the enemy, man. And I definitely believe a lot of brothers, as myself, believe that, we quote unquote playing house with the enemy, man. This is why we call our women our demon, okay? Because the women that, a lot of these women that we are with are very wicked, man, and evil, okay? And um, don't take accountability for their actions, for the things that come out of their mouth or the things that they do, okay? And that's very vexing and irksome for a man of wisdom to deal with day in and day out, man. Okay? And it says, "There is no head above the head of a serpent, and there is no wrath above the wrath of an enemy. And I would rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman." Okay? And who would want to keep house with a woman like that, that's going to pull out a knife and try to end your life, man? That always wants to argue. That's always on some bullshit, man. No man wants to deal with that. A man wants peace at the end of the day. And you dealing with a so-called black woman, it's almost damn near impossible that you're going to find some peace. Now, there are definitely cases, if you deal with a so-called black woman, that you will find peace and refuge in the house, okay? But for the majority of so-called black women, that's something that you will never find, man, okay? And that's just a fact. Women can get in their feelings about it. It is what it is, man. It's just truth. You know, we speaking from a male's perspective. We know we the ones that deal with your asses, okay? And a lot of y'all be on some straight bullshit, man. And this is why brothers will choose women of other nations, because at least they know how to play their position, man. A lot of you women don't know how to play your position, and that's the problem. Um, Ecclesiastes 7:26, "And I'll find more bitter than death the woman whose heart, which is her mind once again, is snares and nets, and her hands is bands. Whoso pleaseth the heavenly Father shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her." Okay? And I can't, I've dealt with some women that I look back and I thank the Lord for allowing me to escape from those particular women, because they were straight up demons in the flesh. This is, of course, before I came into the truth, you know, dealing with a lot of wicked ass women, man. Okay, and a woman's heart, which is her mind, is snares and nets. always looks for a way to trap a man. You know, you heard about a woman, certain women that are witches, putting period blood in the spaghetti. You know, uh, doing certain rituals to keep a man in her life. You know, getting an object from him, a lock of hair, or something that he possesses, and she takes it and does a spell over it, man. You know, now, these women are wicked, or try to trap them up and get pregnant, and get some um, child support, something like that. You know, anything where she feels like she has the upper hand. You know, a lot of these women are on that wicked ass time. Okay, and that's why a woman's heart, which is her mind, is snares and nets. You know, shit, it's better to just stay by yourself, because who has time for the bullshit, man? Okay, um, let's get Micah 7 and 9. I'll read 10 too. Um, Micah 7 and 9 and 10. It says, "I will bear the indignation of the Lord." Now this is important, man. This is the mindset that we gotta have, man. Us that are in this truth, we have to bear the indignation of the Lord. Why? Because I have sinned against him, until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. Right? If you come into this truth and you've definitely you're sincere, you've changed your ways, and you look back on all the things that you've done in your life that were not pleasing to the Lord. Okay, you feel bad about it. Well, you're supposed to feel bad about it. You know, this is the attitude you should have. That anything that comes before you that may seem a little crazy, maybe even a little unfair, always remember this verse here. You got to bear that indignation in the Lord. Why? Because we have sinned against him. Until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me, he will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness. Then, and this 10th verse here is speaking about America and at the end of the day, because, the indignation of the Lord definitely we deal with here in Babylon the Great, day in and day out, with all the bullshit that we go through every day. Okay, it's speaking of Babylon the Great first and foremost, but we use it as a woman, as a woman as well, or for a woman as well. And then she that is my enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, Where is the Lord? Where is the Lord thy power? And my eyes shall behold her. Now shall she be trodden down as a mire of the streets. A lot of brothers go through, certain situations with women that they deal with, and a lot of them are going to be met with judgment from the Lord, man. Okay? This is why we use this verse here for that. That woman that tried to put you through hell, tried to straight up destroy you at the end of the day, destroy you mentally and physically and financially and spiritually in any way that she possibly could, man. Those women are going to have to deal with the Heavenly Father soon come, man. Let's get Proverbs 21 and 19. Proverbs 21 and 19 says, "It is better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and an angry woman. Okay? Once again, no one wants to be laid up playing house with a angry and combative woman. No one wants to deal with that. And I'm pretty sure there are brothers that go home and have to deal with that shit every day, man. That's it's vexing to have to deal with that day in and day out, man. Um, I'll just read this last one. Proverbs 11. Proverbs 11 and 22. Yeah, I'm on 22. Okay, and it says, "As a jewel of gold and a swine's snout right? So is a fair woman, which is without discretion. Okay, so um, a jewel of gold in a swine's snout is what, like Esau would say, is useless as tits on a bull. Esau says that all the time. And so is a fair woman, a beautiful woman, which is without discretion. Okay, which is useless. Discretion meaning the quality of behaving or speaking in a way to avoid causing offense. Okay, and a lot of these women don't have rule over their spirit to do so, man. Okay, they just, something comes to their mind and they just blare it out, or they feel a certain type of way, and that's just what it is, man. There's no reasoning with her. Okay, shit. I know brothers have dealt with this before. Having a woman have a dream that you was with another woman, and she think it's true because she had a dream about it. Just little dumb, stupid shit like that, man. You know, that you got to deal with day in and day out. From wicked ass women. Okay, so yeah, man, brothers, just be careful, man. If you out there mingling about, dealing with this one or that one, uh, just use caution as to what type of woman you bring into your life, man. Okay, because a lot of these women out here are demons, as displayed in the videos. So with that, I want to say shalom to the next one.